Well, good evening, everyone. My name is Jeremiah. If we have not met before, welcome to Deep Stretch. Today, 2 blocks and a bolster will be helpful. Not necessary by any stretch of the imagination, but they are helpful. So we're going to get started today. We are going to start ourselves in a child's pose. And we're going to be holding this child's pose for quite some time. So give yourself an opportunity to make it a comfortable one. We want to focus more on the stretch of the hips in child's pose and also work through the arms in front of us. So if child's pose being kind of like our belly's close to the ground, not quite in our wheelhouse right now, we can try a puppy pose where you're a little more elevated. That might be an option as well. So go ahead and bring yourself to that child's pose. Give yourself the opportunity to hit play on that playlist if you'd like. I do have it here in the chat. And we will go ahead and get started. So as we make our way to that child's pose, we want to prioritize the hip stretch in this one. So I would encourage knees as wide as comfortable, arms long in front of you. And if you have the blocks, maybe even put your arms on the blocks to give yourself more of space to get some opening in the chest as well, but also some opportunity to press down, something to get feedback to push against, to give yourself more length there in that child's pose, getting a little more into those hips. So, all right. And as we come to the child's pose, give yourself the opportunity here to start to find what's comfortable. So for me, I'm going to use the hands on the blocks. Big toes touch, knees are wide, let's reach forward. And as you find your child's pose, start to tap into your breath. So one of the focuses of today's class is going to be on the breath and just mindful consciousness, conscious awareness of that inhale and that exhale. And again, we're going to be holding this child's pose for some time here. Our focus this week at Practice Indy has been on Shani. And Shani is one of the most popular of the Hindu deities, representation of Saturn in Vedic Astrology, and also god of justice. So I find Shani interesting because in a bittersweet way, we're looking at Shani bringing about bad things in your life in order to motivate a person to find change. So continue that child's pose and just start to reach up through the fingers, press thumb and forefinger down. Really root down through the hands as you push back. Feeling the hips start to find a bit of a stretch here. And just find that breath to steady in and steady out. And as we are here in this child's pose, let's consider that Shani, our focus theme this week, of thinking of things in our lives that have created a catalyst for change or events that have facilitated change in our lives. So let's consider maybe a streak of bad luck, maybe something unfortunate happens, maybe there's like a job loss or something of that to that effect. Maybe that helps you find change in your life that honors your higher purpose. So as we go through today's practice, let's continue to dwell on that. So what things have happened in your life that you may have perceived as negative at that time, but actually ended up being, in a bittersweet way, something positive. So take a deep breath in, filling into the low belly, breathing all the way to the base of the throat. Breathing as much as you can. Then as you exhale, let it out. One more time. Inhale, fill up. And exhale, let it out. Starting to bring some mindful awareness to the body. Feel the hands on the blocks or hands on the ground, the shins pressing down, the feet, the knees, everything in contact with the ground. And just start to feel the inhale as you breathe in, feel the belly start to drop. And as you exhale, feel the belly start to pull back in. Scanning the body from head to toe here, noticing what's happening from fingertip all the way down to the tips of the toes. And just notice what you're feeling, the sensations of the body. Just notice. Continuing to notice everything as we start to slowly press through the shins, bring ourselves up through into a tabletop position. We're going to move the blocks out of the way here if you have them. As we transition to a Sphinx pose, transition to your belly all the way down. An option here you want to have the elbows underneath the shoulders, palms down. And the option here is to bring your legs nice and wide. Bring the heels in, toes face out. Press down through your elbows and try to imagine you're trying to pull your chest forward. For me, I need to make my elbows a little bit wider than my shoulders to be able to pull my chest through the window of the arms. I find having my legs in this position helps me get some release in the low back, some opening. You always have the option to keep the legs more together. But have some inquiry here and start to figure out what works best for you. The state of our body, the state of our muscles, our bones, our joints, it changes from day to day. So give yourself time to honor the unique anatomy that you have. Meeting your body where it is in this time, try not to force anything. And in my case, I'm going to keep looking my gaze forward, pressing down through the elbows, and I'm still trying to pull myself slightly forward. Option here, if this is too much, you can bring a block here. I'm going to keep it at the middle height. I'm just going to rest my head here. I still feel the compression of my low back as I roll the shoulders back. I'm still trying to pull my chest forward, but my head is resting on a block. This is an option as well. We're going to be here for several more breaths. Every inhale, I'm pushing my belly into the ground. And then every exhale, I try to lift my belly button off the ground. Again, conscious awareness of the breath. Inhaling into the ground of the mat. Exhale, try to pull the belly button in, separate it from the mat if you can. Breathing in. Exhale, we bring the belly button in as we find that exhale. Giving yourself time here to breathe in and breathe out. One of the things that I really want to focus on in today's class, beyond just the awareness of the breath, is just noticing what comes up in the body as we hold these positions for several moments. Start to observe what comes up in the body. Maybe there's a cramp that comes up in certain positions. Maybe you start to lose control of the breath. Maybe your mind starts to wander. And just notice. No judgment on what's happening. But just see what happens and just bring the attention back to the inhale and the exhale. Taking 2 more breaths in the Sphinx pose. Then on your last exhale, just roll down the spine. Bring the hands underneath the forehead, coming to across our parallel pose. Heels now are to come in. Heel and toes face out. Bringing the legs wide. And just rest here for a moment. Let the spine neutralize. Finding a steady breath in and a steady breath out. Making sure you've got some space here. We're going to need to bring our arms up to a T just a little bit. So we're going to be going to scorpion stretches next to work into the shoulders. Or to slowly begin to heel to the feet back together, toes are tucked. I'm going to start with my right hand. Right hand comes out. Option here is to have your arm straight out or bring your elbow to 90 degrees, your choice. But I'm going to start with my arm straight out. Left hand comes under the shoulder. Kick your left leg up and over. Come into your scorpion stretch on this side. We'll hold for several breaths. If you're taking the option where your elbow is at 90 degrees, your degree of movement is going to be severely limited, and that's okay. If you try the 90-degree angle, you're going to just press your left hand into the mat, press your right elbow down, and try to open up that way. And just keep the breath steady in and steady out. Steady breath in and out. Holding for several more breaths here. Breathing into the arm, letting the neck be nice and gentle and loose, head resting down. And again, just noticing here how this feels. We're going to take about 2 more breaths in. And then we're going to transition back through center. And as you transition to center, let's take the left arm out nice and long. Or option here, bring that elbow to 90 degrees, your choice. But you want to bring the elbow directly in front of the shoulder and in front of the wrist so everything's nicely lined up. And then press that right hand to the mat. Right leg comes over, finding this scorpion stretch. Finding your breath here, breathing in and breathing out. Again, starting to notice what's happening with the breath. You can always transition to 90-degree elbow halfway through if that's your choice. If you choose 90-degree elbows, you really press the elbow down, press the opposite hand down to open up. I find the breath to be a tool that is incredibly important here. By keeping you present, focused in this moment, not letting your mind start to wander, you're allowing yourself the opportunity to be in your body, feeling what you feel, and just observing, noticing, cataloging. Taking about 2 more breaths here. And then after those 2 breaths, we'll come back to center. Both hands are going to be down, tuck them underneath the shoulders. Let's press ourselves up to a tabletop. From tabletop, let's go ahead and bring the blocks nearby. We'll need them at the top of the mat. And before we get there, let's go ahead and start to mobilize the spine a little bit. So let's find a few cat-cows. So as you inhale, drop your belly, roll the shoulders back. Let's hold this for 2 breaths. Steady in, steady out. Steady in. Now that second exhale, find cat pose, holding this for 2 breaths. Pushing the mat away, really puffing up the upper spine. It feels really hard to breathe here, I know. Then after that second exhale, come back through your cow, just 1 breath, 1 movement now. Then as you exhale, push back. Taking this cat-cow, a few more breaths. Inhale the cow, exhale the cat. And maybe you start to need some side-side motion. That's okay. Start to layer on what your body needs. Then after about 2 more rounds, we'll meet in this neutral tabletop position. And then as we meet in tabletop, we're going to come to a lizard pose. So take your right leg, step it outside of that right foot. I'm going to readjust it and put my foot where a little bit farther up. And I'm just going to lunge forward. All right, so I'm going to be pressing my shoulder against my knee against shoulder, so press them together and press the hips forward and down. Option to stay here. Option to take some blocks underneath the forearms. Also, option is to pivot your foot to a 45-degree angle, coming out of the blade of the foot, coming more into a dragon pose. Again, you can drop down to your elbows. Maybe you find a bit of a twist where you start to press your arm against that knee, reach open, gazing towards the ceiling. But again, we'll be here for several moments. So keep pressing the hips forward and down, finding the option here that works best for you. And maybe your option is to have the blocks on a higher setting. There are so many different options that work for your body. All we have to do is find it. So keep pressing the hips forward and down, breathing into the right hip, breathing into the inner right groin. Allowing yourself in this moment to be here in this body. Then as we focus on being present, again, start to notice what's happening in the body. We've got about 5 of the deepest, longest breaths yet here. Allowing everything to be still. And after that last exhale, you should push yourself back onto your hands if you have more on your forearms. Slowly bring that right knee back underneath you. Leaving the blocks right where they are. We're going to bring our left leg up this time, coming into lizard dragon pose on this side. Again, pressing the hips forward and down. Maybe coming to more of a dragon pose where you take your leg out to the side. Dropping your elbows is an option. Keeping that knee pressing against the shoulder is also an option. Then keep pressing the hips forward and down. If you start to notice that your left hip starts to really start to open and start to twist open, pull your left hip forward, right hip back. Press firmly through the forearms. If you're on your forearms, don't collapse into the shoulders. And allow yourself to breathe in and breathe out. We've got several moments here. So eventually trying to find stillness here. Trying to give yourself an opportunity to just feel the stretch. Allowing the breath to be steady in and steady out. We've got about 3 more breaths here. And after that 3rd breath, let's come back through center. From this position, we're going to walk the hands forward. Let's go ahead and work ourselves into a puppy pose. So you want to have the hips over the knees. Arms can be on blocks or on the ground, your choice. I'm going to use the blocks on the second and higher setting. And I'm going to reach the hips back. Reach through the arms. Again, shoulders are going to open here. I'm having my hips over my knees. I'm reaching through the arms here. Really powerfully pressing them down as if there's a button I'm holding down. Breathing in, breathing out. Allowing the stretch to happen in the shoulders. Maybe you feel it into the pecs, maybe into the lats. But allow yourself to be in this puppy pose for several breaths. And as you breathe into the body, as you notice how things are feeling, just observe. Observe how this feels. Observe where the sensations are. And give yourself this opportunity just to be here. Taking a deep breath in, long breath out. We have about 4 more deep breaths in, 4 more deep breaths out. And at the bottom of that 4th exhale, we start to slowly walk ourselves through the tabletop. And go ahead and set the blocks off to the side. We might move them close, so don't go too far. And we're just going to shift our hips over the side and let the legs go long. Let the legs go long. I would bring the blocks over by one of your hips as you let your legs come out to a V. Just finding a V shape as you let your left leg come in the right, coming into a check mark shape. We're going to be working on a Jani Shavasana or a head to knee pose. So I'm going to situate my tailbone so it's firmly pressing down, sitting on my sit bones. Now, option here is for your blocks to frame that right leg. Because we're going to be reaching up, squaring over that leg, and folding down, holding a foot, ankle, or shin, whatever you have accessible. And the blocks here are here to support the arms. Another option here is if your head is really coming down close, maybe taking a block and letting the head rest there, bicep by the ear maybe. But just start to find what works here for you, moving things around, supporting as you need, giving you that avenue to have that stretch. So something to consider here is as we start to do this, maybe we start to lean over towards our right hip bone. Try to press our left sit bone down as you keep reaching your crown of the head towards the toes. And just allow yourself to breathe here. We will be holding this for just several moments. Taking about 1 more deep breath in, long breath out. On your next inhale, walk yourself back on up, nice and gentle. So while we're in this position, we're going to take a revolve variation of this pose. So the revolve variation might look like this. So I'm going to take my right hand, block inside the leg. I'm going to bring it closer to the ankle here. I'm going to bring the other block right here, so I have a nice little lane. I'm going to hold my hand on the block. I'm just going to reach up, and I'm reaching up and over. Option here for that. Also, option to hold the foot if you're able to, move the block to the outside, and use it this way as well. Or also, making it a little bit higher as you reach up and over. So option to stack the blocks, option to keep them off the side, whatever works best for you. And what we're working on here is a deeper stretch of the lower left quadrant back, but also trying to twist the right ribs underneath. And allow yourself to take a deep breath in, long breath out. This is a lot to keep the arms overhead, so if it's getting a bit too much, take maybe your hand to cup the head, let your elbows stay high, and instead of trying to reach towards the foot, reach the elbow up. And then try to point the elbow a little more towards your foot. So we're thinking more side bend there. Deep breath in, long breath out. 1 more deep breath. Then as we exhale, very slowly, very carefully come back to center. Lean yourself back, bring the blocks with you as we take our left leg long, right leg comes in, switching sides, flexing through that foot. Again, option here to keep the blocks by the foot or the leg as we reach the hands tall, square over that left leg and fold down. holding on a foot, ankle, or shin, wherever you have accessible. And maybe you use the blocks here for support. Maybe you have your head here on a block. Breathing in, breathing out. Breathing in, and continue to breathe out. Got 2 more breaths here. Then on your second exhale, we slowly come back up. We're going to transition to our twisted variation. So again, option here to bring both blocks inside the leg, holding as you reach up and over, or option is to maybe bring the blocks and you stack them to make it a little bit easier for your arm to reach on. So reaching towards that foot, reaching the right hand up and over. So start to play around. Notice what, maybe if you try more than one variation, maybe you can try more than one, and just say a few breaths each time. One of the great joys that I take in the yoga practice is that there's never just one approach to a pose. I love being able to take props and support my body in different ways to see how that might change the sensations in my body. So as you keep reaching up and over, maybe that arm is a little tired, so you bring your right hand to cup the head. Reach that right elbow high as you now try to reach it towards that left foot. Taking about 4 breaths here. And then after that 4th and last exhale, you very slowly bring yourself back into center. And you're going to bring both legs to a Baddha Konasana, center of the mat. So no rush to get there, transitioning as you need. So Baddha Konasana is going to soles of the feet together, lifting up. Maybe this is where you want to stay, or maybe you want to try something a little different. You bring a block nearby, bring your feet to the top of the block. I'm going to readjust my pelvis so my tailbone is trying to point backwards a little bit. As I position on those sit bones, I sit up nice and tall. Maybe this is where you stay. Maybe you start to scooch that block in a little bit more. And I'm going to bring my hands to clasp under my feet. Pressing the feet together will lift up through the crown of the head, getting nice and tall. And maybe you stay here. If you want a little bit more, keeping that back nice and straight, hold with the arms, elbows are backwards, lean forward. I'm going to squeeze my glutes a little bit here to really start to feel some opening here. And again, so just play around. Maybe you just squeeze one glute, maybe you squeeze the other, maybe you squeeze both. Maybe you keep lifting up through the crown of the head and turn to use the arms to bring yourself forward. Again, have some inquiry, have some areas of self-discovery. Start to ask yourself, what happens if I do this? What sensations happen if I try this? So give yourself a few more breaths here. And maybe if you put yourself on the block, maybe you move the block out of the way. If you weren't using the block, maybe you try it this time. Taking about 6 to 8 more breaths here. Letting the breath be steady in, steady out. Again, scanning the body from head to toe, just noticing what sensations are coming up. Asking yourself what you are noticing, observe. And then very slowly bring yourself all the way up. Bring your hands to the outsides of the knees, support your knees as they come all the way up. And now we're going to let the legs come out to a wide V. This is where that bolster or couch cushion is going to be really handy. So we're going to bring that close in. And what I'm going to do is we're coming to a wide leg forward fold. So I'm going to let my toes face straight up. The moment we start to rotate the feet in or out, we start to bypass the inner groin, which is the counterproductive to what we're looking for here. So I'm going to bring my blocks, and I'm going to make it look a little like Stonehenge here. Option for it to be wide or narrow, your choice. I'm going to make it narrow. And then I'm going to reach myself forward till I can't reach any further. My hands are going to come to hold the bolster block and just reach forward. I continue to flex through my toes, keeping them pointing straight up. And an option here as well is if you want, you can hold on to the feet as you lean forward. Again, the possibilities are endless here. So many different variations, so many different things you can try with your body, so many different things that we can do to stretch. We're going to be here for some time. So give yourself an opportunity to just breathe in and breathe out. And keep allowing that breath to be steady in and steady out as you begin to very slowly come back up to center. We're going to let both legs come through center. And let's take a moment here to let them come out a little wider. And toes come in, toes go out, a little bit of windshield wiper here. Then eventually we do synchronous where the toes start to go same side, same side. Give yourself a moment here just to shake out and find stillness. We're going to work a little bit on, we're going to have like shoelace or gomuka legs, so cow legs. So we're going to come to where our right leg is going to come underneath. We're going to bend the right heel towards the left glute. Left knee is going to come up and over, coming into a bit of a hip stretch. So we're trying to stack our legs in front. So let me go ahead, just so you can see me. So coming into this cow face leg pose, knees are coming towards each other. So right leg, right heel to left glute, left heel towards the hip. All right, option for support. I'm squeezing a block under here to give me some support. And maybe this is great. Maybe you're like, okay, I'm great. Feels fine. Try to squeeze your knees together, lift it nice and tall. And this is where the blocks are coming handy as you walk the blocks forward. Give yourself a bit of a forward fold. Maybe you're feeling something pretty acutely and intense in the left hip. But give yourself this moment to forward fold. And if this is really intense in your knees, you can always try more of a figure 4 here instead as you reach forward and lean forward. Wonderful work here. Allow yourself to take a deep breath in and a long breath out. And then as you breathe into the body, and then as you exhale, allow yourself to root down. Feel yourself so acutely here in this pose. You feel the sit bones, you feel the feet, you feel everything about the body. And maintaining the awareness, we're going to slowly inhale, walk ourselves back up. We're going to let both legs come in front of us. Let's go to windshield over the knees just real quick. And again, noticing the body, feeling the air around, feeling the temperature, the texture of the floor as we switch sides. Left heel towards right glute on the bottom. Left knee can come up over. Again, option here for the figure 4 instead. Setting ourselves up the same way. Maybe a block under the knee. Maybe you reach for another block as you reach forward. Now, with this practice of awareness, you want to be able to feel everything about the body. You want to know where you are in space. You want to know what position your body's in. So continue to find that breath in. And maybe as you breathe out, you start to take that forward fold. And again, option is as well as to come to a crisscross position if it's really intense on the legs. Sometimes in a yoga class, when the teacher, like I'm doing tonight, I keep asking over and over, what are you feeling? I'm asking you to find some inquiry. In my own mind, sometimes I think, well, why can't you tell me? I don't know your body, I don't know your anatomy, I don't know the shape of your joints, your bones. And I want to project what happens in my body onto yours. So by inviting the self-inquiry into this practice of asking continuously, what am I feeling? What happens if I try this? Or what happens if I do that? You become more intimately aware of what's happening. You start to understand the cause and effect. Now on your next inhale, let's go ahead and slowly bring ourselves back on up. Let the legs come in front of us one more time. Maybe we windshield over just a little bit. Maybe you start to reach your toes out, maybe wriggle. And I'm gonna move around. If you're like me, I have some circulation complications, so sometimes I lose feeling in my feet when I do things like that. So we have an option here to come to the wall. So two things, if you have a wall available, we're gonna be doing legs up the wall. If you don't have a wall available, but you have blocks, we're gonna do it right here. So I'm gonna show you the block version first. I'm going to create myself a nice stable position on blocks. I'm gonna have two blocks on top of each other, because I'm tall. We wanna get yourself on the blocks, all right? And again, option here to have a bolster behind you as well. So get yourself some extra support, and you lean back. And you lift the legs up. I'm holding on the blocks here for support with my fingers. I'm going to come legs at the wall. Option here as well to bend the knees. That's an option. Option as well is to try having the bolster underneath your back. Having just one bolster, one block underneath you, coming to this position, or even legs all the way up. So option there. Other option for legs at the wall is to get yourself nice and close to the wall. Hips all the way up close. You're just going to swing yourself up and over. So your tailbone is facing the wall, legs are up, and then bring your arms by your side for a moment. Not a lot of stretching happening here. We want to think more restorative for this pose, because we're going to be transitioning from here to this, to the wide leg Viparita, legs at the wall. So this is where we're going next, but we're going to start here with the legs straight overhead. So go ahead and find your version of legs at the wall. Awesome work. And a couch is going to be a perfectly Great thing to use as well here. So I know that if we don't have a wall available, our legs are just kind of hanging in the air. It's gonna get a little tiresome. So if that's gonna be the case, feel free to bend the knees to 90 degrees. Let that be something to relieve a little bit of pressure. But we're gonna be here for about 1 more minute. Taking a few more deep breaths in, long breaths out. Then as you are ready, we're going to shift to the wide leg version. So start to let the legs go wide. Now option here is to hold onto opposite thighs to give yourself some support. If you've got some blocks, maybe you can put some blocks, kind of like wedge them under your hips close to the wall to give yourself some extra support. And if you're like me and you are in this position and you're going, okay, this is slightly uncomfortable. Maybe you narrow the legs just a little bit. Instead of coming to your maximum, maybe you find them a little more narrow to make it a little bit easier, a little less intense. So we're going to be here for about 1.5 more minutes. So this is the pose that I like to just close my eyes, start to utterly check in with the body, feeling from my toes to my heels, all the way down my legs to my hips, all the way up my torso, down my shoulders, my arms, head and neck. If you so happen to have canine or feline companions, maybe they're giving you a little extra love right now. We've got about 30 more seconds here. So begin to wiggle the toes a little bit. Maybe flex and point the feet. And then as our time in this pose comes to an end, start to take your hands to the outsides of the thighs. Slowly bring the legs all the way up through center. Pause here and your legs up the wall, just one breath. And start to bend the knees. We're not done here quite yet. We're going to bend the knees, and we want to kind of like bring ourselves into like a happy baby against the wall. So feet are still planted down, my legs are back a little more wide, and I'm just going to hold on to my shins. This is an option here, or option if you do not have a wall, come to happy baby. But press against whatever wall you might have. I'm using my elbows to press out against my knees. And I'm just breathing in, breathing out, taking about 3 deep breaths in, 3 long breaths out, before I bend my knees back to the wall once more. And I'm going to fall over to one side, coming onto the floor and kind of just pushing myself back up into a seated position with my legs long. So our next pose is going to be Paschimottanasana. So a seated forward bend. So let's take a bolster if you have it onto the legs. And we're just going to reach up nice and tall. And as we exhale, We fold forward, holding a foot, ankle, or shin, or just hold into the bolster. And just let yourself round here. Toes keep facing up. Breathing in, breathing out. On your next inhale, so just slowly bring yourself all the way back up. We're gonna make sure we're about halfway down the mat. We're gonna come to our backs. So go ahead and keep a block handy. Come all the way down the spine. Reach up overhead for a full body stretch. Get long in the fingers. Reach long through the toes. Then slowly bend one knee in, bend the other. Hands come by the side. We're gonna go through a supported bridge here. So make sure the feet are about hip distance apart, close to the sit bones. Taking that block, I'm gonna use it on the second highest setting. I'm gonna get it nice and under the sacrum area, making sure that you are stable, making sure that it is where it needs to be. You're not kind of putting too much pressure on that low back. Now, option here is to stay in supported bridge. But if you want a little bit of a hip flexor stretch, I'm gonna let one leg go to one corner of the mat, other leg go to the other, and we'll stay here for a little bit. Option as well to bring the arms overhead into more of a starfish. And again, notice how this feels in the low back. If that is too much, bring yourself down a level on that block. That is always an option. You always want to pay attention to the sensations of the body. You want to make sure that you do not jeopardize the sacrum. It is a delicate triangular shape of bone that it moves a little bit, but not a lot. So when we force it to move more than it should, things start to get a little iffy. And we want to avoid that. If you're in a position where you're in that starfish-like position, start to bend one knee in, bend the other, bring the hands back by the side. If you're in your supported bridge, pause here as you begin to press with the heels just enough to push the block out from the side and allow yourself to come all the way down. From this position, we're going to work ourselves into our Shavasana. We're going to be taking an extended Shavasana. So give yourself the opportunity to get nice and comfortable. Allow yourself to settle in. And one of the things you want to focus in on the Shavasana is complete awareness. So I'm going to guide us through a quick relaxation here. So go ahead and let yourself come all the way down to the mat. You want to feel the legs long in front of you, arms by the side. Give yourself the opportunity to feel the heels on the ground. Feel the calves, the back of the knees, the thighs. Noticing the hips, the low back, the mid back, and the upper back. Awareness comes down through the shoulders, into the arms, filling the head, neck, and shoulders. Everything is rooted into the mat. You are firmly connected. With every inhale, you take in breath. With every exhale, you connect more firmly to the ground. You connect more firmly into your body. You're aware of the sensations of the toes, the foot, the legs, the hips, the torso, the shoulders and arms. You're completely aware of every beat of the heart, of every inhale and exhale. As your awareness draws more inward, you become more aware of the workings of the body. You become more aware of sensations, aware of thoughts, aware of the air moving around the body, simply aware. Allowing yourself to be so present in this moment. You follow the breath, you feel the heart, you exist in this moment exactly as you are meant to be. Continuing to take deep breaths in, long breaths out. Continuing the acute awareness of your body, of your thoughts, of your breath. Allow yourself to be in this moment and to invite relaxation into the body. Consciously allowing tension to leave, consciously allowing yourself to relax. This time is yours and yours alone as you are here in this moment and you relax. Taking a deep breath in and a long breath out. Beginning to invite movement and energy back into the body. Beginning to wiggle the fingers and wiggle the toes. Making motions with the ankles and the wrists. Then as you inhale, maybe the arms come overhead for a full body stretch. Getting long in the body, reaching long. And as you exhale, knees come in for a good squeeze. Rocking from side to side. Eventually you begin to come over onto your favorite side, taking a moment in this posture of renewal and rebirth. And coming back to our intention of the week, asking yourself, what things have happened that have been a catalyst for change in your life? What things have happened that at that time you thought were pretty negative, but turned out to be something pretty positive? Take a moment just to consider that as you slowly press yourself up to seated, rooting through the sit bones, lifting up through the crown of the head, closing the eyes, hands coming through the heart center. Taking a moment to feel the heartbeat against the hands. Feel the rise and fall of the chest. And begin to set an intention or an awareness that as we leave the mat and go back to our evening, ask yourself, what can you bring off the mat? What kind of awareness do you want to have? What intention can you bring back? Knowing that the yoga practice doesn't have to stay on the mat, it is something that we can take with us. We begin to take a deep breath in, filling up. Exhale, long breath out. Mindfully, the thumbs come through the forehead center, and then we bow forward to seal our practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Peace, peace, and perfect peace. Thank you.